So today we've got a women's product we'll be reviewing, and it's the Apex 2. Apex 2's been around a little while now. This stick came out around about 7 months ago now. And the original Apex, which we have one here, is one of our best ever selling heads. Now, I kept an Apex back. I kept this blue one. And the reason I kept this rather than sell it, because there was a point where, like, people would have just gone crazy to buy, an Apex, because you couldn't get them anywhere. They'd sold out everywhere. And I thought, I'm going to keep one of these. And the reason that I've kept one is for my own vintage lacrosse equipment collection. And the reason I've kept this, because by no means is this vintage. And, original Apex still holds up really well against, any other stick that's coming out now. The reason I've kept this is because I really do believe that the Apex is one of the best women's sticks that's come into the market. If you watch the original review of this, you can tell that, I like this stick. The flex mesh pocket that Gait provided in this stick, I think it's a great pocket. And it is hugely, hugely popular. I mean, insanely popular. Apex has definitely been, a top seller for us. And for a long time, it dominated our women's kind of elite stick sales. Now, a couple of the sticks came out on the market, over the last couple of years. So we had the Whip 2 came out. We had the Air 2. Whip 2's been really popular. People were waiting for that Apex 2. And since it's come out, it has done extremely well. Now, there's a couple of other sticks out there, which, again, SDX have maybe, brought things like the Aria Pro, the Aria Pro M. And I think that now that the Apex 2's out, there's a little bit more competition out there for that kind of top-end midfield. When I say midfield, it's not exclusively for midfielders. Anybody on the field, other than the goalie, could use an Apex 2. I really do believe that. I think it's a great stick, very, very versatile, but a great seller. But like I said, I kept the original Apex because I think it was such a great stick, and this is an important stick, not just for Gait. I think it is an important stick because it's kind of set the bar, really. I'm going to put that one down a second. Let's look at the differences between them. So I'm just going to remove the hand tack here, make it a little bit easier for you to see on the video. As you see on most sticks now, you tend to get these pocket retainers. They're fairly handy. Keeps your pocket in shape, so, you want to keep this. A lot of people do tend to throw it away. But you might want to keep this. It is handy after games, just to pop back in. Let's just pop a ball in there. So, there's still quite a bit of pocket depth on that, but that's got a great pocket. That's an off-the-shelf stick, off the shelf, great looking pocket, and as you see, still a good amount of pocket depth in that. Now, if I pop out, let's look at a couple of the differences. Oops. Let's see if I can angle them. I mean, it's familiar looking, isn't it? It doesn't immediately look a load different, but there are some differences. One thing I did notice, over time with the Apex was that you don't get many returns of women's sticks. You don't see a high number of breakages in women's sticks. There was a few Apexes that came back to us where you started spotting, a couple of cracks. So the original Apex would crack just there underneath that bit of string there, in one of these spots. Occasionally, a couple if you're unlucky. But really where we start to see breakages, and again, it wasn't like a serious break, it's like a little crack, but once you get that little crack, there's the original one, you can just see there's that narrower bit of plastic. And because the plastic's so thin there, occasionally you'd see a crack there. Occasionally, you'd see a crack on both sides of it. Now, I think that was from people who were taking draws, Maybe people are, pick up a lot of ground balls, perhaps, play a lot of defense. But, all in all, although there was a couple of little spots where you might, see a crack over time, over a lot of use with an Apex, I think this was a really, really great stick. Now, on the Apex 2, we don't have that kind of thinner area that you see. So you're not going to get that crack. The plastic is beefed up here. So again, you shouldn't get that crack. Couple of differences you spot immediately. I mean, there's these holes here. Now, I don't think they actually pitched this as being able to string up there, but I mean, you might be able to use that to string perhaps and create a kind of a deeper pocket because the pocket sits higher in the stick, if that makes sense. Not giving that a go. Don't think I'm going to give that a go because this strings up so well anyway. You don't really need to change either the factory pocket that comes because it's really good, or if you've seen our inventory in store or you come to an event, you'll notice we string a lot of Valkyrie pockets. There is one here. That's the other pocket I'd highly recommend checking out. Valkyrie's superb. This is a custom dyed kind of shocking pink to match the Gait limited edition pink handles, and have a look at that again in a minute. But the stock pocket that comes in it, it's pretty damn good. I think it's certainly one of the best pocket products on the market, I believe, in women's lacrosse. And an off-the-shelf product. It's good to go. It's a great stick. It's got a similar shape as I saw the sidewall. Maybe. I think it'd be more obvious if you put it on a kind of a tabletop. But the kind of return here does look a little bit sharper than the original Apex. The scoop, I think, I'm going to double check this. Yeah, so again, I'll try and show you so you can see it. Best thing to do is put my sticks here. So I would say, put them evenly. Might be difficult for you to kind of tell on the screen, but the scoop here isn't quite as kind of smiley, if that makes sense, as this scoop. Now, talking about the scoop, they've obviously taken out, I can't remember what they refer to this as, but they've taken out this bit of plastic here. A little bit less drag when you're shooting, maybe. I think that's the idea. Certainly drops a little bit of weight. Now, you've got these kind of tabs on the inside. So again, let me just pull the original Apex. Here's the original. There's the Apex 2. Now, there's a little bit of confusion about these tabs here, all right? So they brought a version out, which would have been the original version, which you might have seen, perhaps prototypes were out there in the US. I don't know, I've never actually seen one because they didn't make it here. We've got the legal Apex 2. So let's just straighten that up. We never had the Apex 2, which was deemed illegal by US Lacrosse. And it had like 1, 2, 3 of these kind of holes there on the plastic. Can't remember if it might have had 1, 2 holes there on these inner tabs here. And I think the reason that it was deemed illegal maybe is because that third one just brought the plastic in a little bit too tight, perhaps. Don't know, but that one was deemed illegal by US Lacrosse. The Apex 2s we have on the website, no matter what they're strung with, they are the legal Apex 2s. I do think, just going back to kind of a couple of the little things which were niggles on the original, the build quality on the Apex 2, it does feel superior. It definitely feels, I mean, every women's head is a little bit kind of stiffer than they were, certainly 5, 10 years ago. Think back to like the Epic Purpose or Epoch Purpose, however you want to pronounce it. But the Purpose was, a leading women's stick when it first came out. And you could argue that a lot of people went down the route of kind of copying that design. And now we're very familiar with seeing this kind of aggressive, shape in a women's stick, this extreme drop, sharp return, forcing a ball to that sweet spot there, underneath that U shooting string or V, whatever you want to call it. But it just sits right underneath that shooter. And I think that when that stick came out, you didn't notice how kind of rubbery and soft it was. All women's sticks now just seem to be far better build quality. Plastic's an awful lot stiffer, okay? And that means that, you're going to get a bit more longevity out of that head, especially if you're playing kind of hot climates. We don't tend to play, in a hotter climate here in the UK, apart from the fact that at the moment we are having I think it's like the second serious heat wave of the year. So it's very hot and sweaty in the building at the moment. It feels like I'm doing a review in a greenhouse. It's very, very warm here in the store today. But the Apex 2, I think, is a great, great stick. Build quality is better, marginally lighter than the original Apex. It certainly feels like it ought to be. The one thing which I would say kind of lets Gait down a little bit is that there isn't enough variety at the moment of handles. You either get the thin kind of composite handle, there's the Gait Ice, which comes in the thinner profile or the thicker 1-inch diameter, and that's it. There isn't another Gait women's handle on the market. And I kind of feel that it would be nice to see them bring out a couple more composite handles to give players a little bit more choice. Something maybe a texture section down here, perhaps the wider composite for people who like the wider handles, but they want a composite. Yes, you could go and use a different brand's handle perhaps, but I think that Gait are missing a trick really on the handles. I suspect you're going to see that in time. But, overall, as a stick and as a head, Apex 2, it's a great stick. And again, it is one of our best-selling sticks. Now, you'd have thought perhaps that, having the Apex being so popular that, hands down, this would be the stick that everybody's buying at the moment. It's not that you can't take a draw with this. You could take a draw. It's just not suited as well to the draw as some other sticks. And that was certainly the case for this as well. There's just a few more draw options on the market now. I think that given the fact that maybe people don't buy equipment as often in the UK and Europe, we're not seeing that flood of people to buy one that we saw with the original Apex. But I think I mentioned earlier in the video, there is a bit more competition out there from a couple of the leading brands. Certainly SCX, one of them, and they're producing a couple of really good women's sticks for Nike as well, which don't actually get an awful lot of love. But the Apex 2, I think, is a great, great stick. And if you're looking for a stick, no matter what position you are, Apex 2 is something that you definitely need to try one out, whether you come into the store, see an event, try a teammates out. But the Apex 2 is a great, great option if you're in the market for a new stick. Really, really good stick.